So last in the last class we have seen about the ideal transformer on load. Now we will be seeing about practical transformer on load. So we'll be discussing two cases in this practical transformer on load. So when we assume that there are no winding resistances and leakage flux, then we'll be assuming first case, and the second case will be when with winding resistances and leakage flux. So without winding resistance and leakage flux, let's see this case first. This show figure 7.8. So here you are seeing the practical transformer without any winding resistances and leakage flux. So you will not have any R1 or X1 in this case. Okay, R1 X1 will be absent as well as R2 X2 will be absent. You will be having a transformer which has some losses, and you will have a load, and you are connecting the transformer to the load. Okay. Okay, with the assumption, so if you are assuming that the leakage resistances and reactances are what do you say, negligible, then uh, what do you say? Then we with this assumption we can say that V2 is equals to E2. That is, the terminal voltage will be equal to the induced voltage. Similar as in case of V1 is equals to E1. Let us take the generally we'll say we are taking the inductive load, right? So if there is an inductive load, then the current will be lagging the voltage. So here we are taking that current is lagging the voltage by phi 2, by an angle phi 2. So the total primary current must meet two requirements. What are the requirements for the primary current? Means it must supply the no load current to meet the iron losses in the transformer and to provide the flux in the core. Right. Basically, the primary current will be supplying the iron losses as well as it will provide the flux, with the main flux which is phi. Okay. And then it must supply a current I naught dash to counteract the demagnetizing effect of the secondary current I2. So when you know that whenever there is a load connected, you will have a demagnetizing effect if from the secondary side. That has to be counteracted by the extra amount of current that is being drawn by the primary. So I naught dash will be the extra amount of current. The magnitude of I2 dash will be such that I2 dash, in the sense, I2 dash is the amount of current that primary is drawing in order to counteract the secondary. So N1 into I2 dash is equals to N2 I2, or I2 dash is equals to N2 by N1 into I2. So this is the amount of current that needs to be drawn by the primary in order to what do you say, counteract the secondary. So the total primary current will be the sum of both the normal current, which will be giving us the iron losses and the fluxes, that is the I naught value, and then this I2 dash, which is counteracting the I2. So here we can see this is the formula for total primary current. I1 is equals to I2 dash plus I naught, where I2 dash is equals to minus K into I2. Why minus? Means the it will be out of phase with I2, because it is 180 degrees out of phase with I2. You will get that minus sign. Okay. Now let us see the phasor diagram in this case. So figure 7.9 shows the phasor diagram of the usual case of the inductive load. Both E1 and E2 lag behind the mutual flux by 90 degrees. The current I2 dash represents the primary current to neutralize the demagnetizing effect of I2. Now I2 dash is equals to K into I2 and is antiphase with I2. So let us just see this diagram here. You can see the phasor diagram that is for this practical transformer with load. So basically we have this phi, right? You have this flux phi, which is a constant value. Again, this E1, E1 and E2 both will be lagging the phi, right? Here somewhere E1 will be there. This will be E1, and you have E2 again. E2 is equals to V2. Why? Means because even and here we are assuming that there are no resistances and reactances. So E2 will be equal to V2, that's what we are taking, and for simplicity purpose of the phasor diagram we are taking K is equals to 1. Right, so now we know that there will be a current I2, that is because of the load, that will be lagging V2 by phi 2, that will be lagging V2 by phi 2. So that is what is being represented, and now we need to now there should be a primary current, right? There should be a primary current, there should be a primary current in the primary, that is I naught, which is supplying the iron losses as well as setting up this flux phi. Okay, so we have this I naught, and now we know that in order to counteract this I2 we have I2 dash, right? In order to counteract the I2 we have I2 dash, which is exactly opposite to the, exactly in antiphase, that is 180 degrees away from the I2. So we have this value I2 dash, and now the resultant, the adding of these two will give you I1. Okay, the adding of these two will give you I1. So if you just add these phasors I0 and I2 dash, you will get I1. Okay, and again V1 will be exactly opposite to E1, right? That is what V1, here is V1, you are seeing V1, and now the angle between V1 and I0 is phi naught, the angle between V1 and I0 is phi naught, and then the angle between I1 and V1 is phi 1. So this is how the phasor diagram is being represented. Okay. Now that's what. Okay. Now here, from here you can see that primary power factor is nothing but, power factor is nothing but the cos of angle between voltage and current. So primary power factor will be cos phi 1, because phi 1 is the angle between the voltage and current. Next, secondary power factor will be cos phi 2, where phi 2 is the angle between the voltage V2 and I2. Next, primary input power will be V1 I1 cos phi 1, you know this, and secondary output power will be V2 I2 cos phi 2. This is not V1, V2 I2 cos phi 2. Okay. Next case is transformer with resistance and leakage reactance. So till now we ignored those two. So here we are going to incorporate those two also. So the actual conditions that exist in the transformer will have a voltage drop in R1 and X1, so that the primary EMF E1 will be less than the applied voltage. It will be less than what the applied voltage will be because of these two leakage reactances and resistances. Similarly, there will be a voltage drop in R2 and X2, so that the secondary terminal voltage is less than the secondary EMF. So here also we are going to take the inductive load such that I2 is lagging behind the secondary voltage V2 by phi 2. Okay. So here also the primary current must supply two main requirements. First is it has to supply the iron losses and also provide the flux, that is I naught, and then here same thing, I2 dash will be present, I2 will be present, and in order to counteract the I2 dash will be present. So both same, similarly how we have seen in the case of without resistance and leakage reactance, here also we will be having the similar equation. Okay, but here what happens is, here till here the total primary current, the equation of the total primary current is same as in case of the no loads and no resistances and leakage reactances. But here what happens is, if you write V1 value, then it will be different. Okay, so V1 is equals to E1 in that case, right? V1 is equals to E1 directly we have taken, because there are no resistances and reactances. But in this case what happens is, because of the resistances and reactances there will be a voltage drop. So that drop here is represented by this parameter. I1 is equals to R1 plus J into X1, where R1 is the resistance and X1 is the leakage reactance. So the V1 is equals to minus E1 plus I1 Z1. Similarly, in case of V2, you have this equation where R2 into JX2 will, R2 plus JX2 will give you the reactance, total reactance of secondary winding. So you will have the secondary voltage will be slightly less than what E2 is. Okay, so here you can see the total diagram. Here you can see that R1 X1 are being represented, R1 X1 are being represented, here R2 X2 are being represented, and because of this R1 X1 and R2 X2 you will get some losses. Because of these losses you are saying that V1 is not equal to E1, V1 will be, sorry, E1 will be less than V1, E1 will be less than V1. Same in case of V2 and E2, V2 will be less than E2. Okay. Now let's see the phasor diagram for this particular case. Here you can see that basic diagram didn't change. So that is basic values didn't change. So you have what do you say? V1. Where is V1? Here V1 is lost. No, E1. Okay. First is drawing E1. So because of E1 there is a flux phi. Okay, there is a flux phi, and okay, there is a flux phi, and then there is an what do you say, I naught, that is the initial current for the iron losses, and basic losses, that are basic flux to set up. I naught is there, and phi is the basic flux that is being set up. Now you can see here that E1 is there, right? This is minus E1. E1 will be generally in this direction, so we are taking it in the opposite direction and representing it as minus E1. Generally in this direction you will get E1. Okay, you will get E1 in this direction, but here we are taking minus E1, so it is being represented here. Okay, minus E1 is there. For that minus E1, if you are adding IRXR, right, IRXR, sorry, okay, before that we need to go here, right? Sorry. Okay, so we know V2 is there, right? V2 is the terminal voltage. It is at an angle different than 90 degrees. Why is it at different than 90 degrees? Means because of the presence of R2 and X2. So we have the E2, and then we have I2, which is lagging behind E2 by phi 2, right? After this, we need to add I2 dash, right? K into I2 dash is the amount of primary current which we need to take, right? So that is being added here to the I naught, so such that the resultant will give you I1. The resultant will give you I1. Okay, similarly to what we have done in the first case, we are doing that in the second case also. So we have I2 and we have the counter I2 dash, and then we have this and then we have, if you add those two you will get I1, right? You get I1. Okay, now I1 is there and E1 is there, right? Sorry, here V2, in order to get E2, first of all you need to get E2 in order to know E1, right? So E2, how to get E2 means V2 plus I2R2, where I2R2 is the amount of drop due to resistance, right? So the direction of this drop, will be similar to whatever I2 direction is there. The direction of this drop will be similar to I2 direction, and then we know that X2 is a reactance, right? X2 reactance will be exactly 90 degrees against the normal current. So current is in this direction, so exactly 90 degrees to it you get I2X2. Exactly 90 degrees to it you get I2X2. Here you can see the 90 degrees, and then if you add these two you get I2Z2. If you add these two you get I2Z2. If you add I2Z2 to directly V2, if you add I2Z2 to V2, then you get E2. Terminal voltage is equals to um, sorry, yeah, terminal voltage is equals to whatever the generated voltage is there minus the drop. So E2 minus I2Z2 will give you V2. Okay, so this is how the phasor diagram is being drawn on the secondary side. Similarly, on the primary side, now you know E2, you know what is E1. Directly opposite to that, you know E1. Similarly, here also you are going to add I1 R1. I1 R1 will be in the direction of I1, similar to parallel to this, and again I1 X1 will be 90 degrees to this one, because it is an inductive sorry, it is a reactive this one, inductive this one, so you will get this as 90 degrees from the I1 R1, and then if you add these two, you get I1 Z1. If you add I1 Z1 to E1, you get V1. Okay, this is how the total phasor diagram has been drawn. Okay, next the topic is impedance ratio. So we have seen transformation ratio, right? So after transformation ratio, we are going to see the impedance ratio. Similarly, how the transformation ratio is there, similar to that, we'll be having this impedance ratio. Okay, so here you have to assume that we have a impedance of Z2 in the secondary winding, so that and Z1 as the impedance of the primary winding. So Z2 is equals to V2 by V1, I1, and Z1 is equals to V1 by I1. So Z2 by Z1 will be written as V2 by V1 into I1 by I2, which is nothing but V2 by V1 is equals to K. I1 by I2, I2 by I1 is equals to 1 by K. So I1 by I2 will be K again. So Z2 by Z1 is equals to K square. This is the impedance ratio. So impedance ratio is equal to the square of the voltage transformation ratio. In other words, an impedance Z2 in the secondary side becomes Z2 by K square when transferred to primary side. So if you want to transfer the impedance on the secondary side to the primary side, then you have to maintain this ratio, that is the impedance ratio. Okay, so Z2 on the primary side becomes Z2 by K square in the secondary side. Okay, using this formula you can do that. And if you want to change the impedance Z1 from the primary to the secondary, then it becomes K square into Z1. You have to multiply it with K square. Okay, similarly R2 by R1 is equals to K square, and X2 by X1 is equals to K square. So whatever the impedances you take, the ratio between those two impedances from primary to secondary and from secondary to primary will be K square. Okay. Now, note the importance of the above relationships. We can transfer the parameters from one winding to other. Thus, a resistance R1 in the primary becomes K squared into R1 when transferred to the secondary. A resistance R2 in the secondary becomes R2 by K square when transferred to the primary. These are the very important relationships. You have to remember all these relationships, because you will get problems on these relationships, as well as further, in order to understand the further approximations and everything, these relations are quite important. So you need to remember this particular formula and the this particular formula and the following what do you say, relations. Okay, R2 by R1 is equals to K square, and X2 by X1 is equals to K square. So reactance X1 in the primary becomes K square into X1 when referred to the secondary, and the reactance X2 in the secondary becomes X square X2 by K square in the primary. Okay, so we can transfer the impedances from one side to the another, but we need to replace that transferred impedance with an equivalent impedance like this. Okay, note, it is important to remember that when transferring resistance or reactance from primary to secondary, multiply it with K square. From primary to secondary, multiplying. If you want to move from secondary to primary, dividing it with K square. Okay, from primary to secondary, multiply. From secondary to primary, divide. When transferring voltage or current from one winding to other, only K is used. If you are going for only voltage or current, then you will go for voltage transformation ratio, that is K. If you are going for reactances or resistances, then you will be going for the impedance ratio, which is K square. Next, shifting of impedances in a transformer. Here, this is the normal resistance, sorry, normal transformer here in this diagram, whatever you are seeing. Now we are going to try to shift the transformer impedances from one side to the other side. So first thing is, what we are going to do is refer to primary, that is whatever the secondary resistance or reactances are there that are being transferred to primary, and then we are going to see how this will be in case if you are referring the total resistances to primary. So when the secondary reactances or resistances are transferred to primary, it has to be divided with K square. This is known as, it is called as equivalent secondary resistance or reactance referred to primary and denoted as R2 dash or X2 dash. Okay, so whenever you are seeing R2 dash or X2 dash, you need to remember that it is the secondary resistance referred to the primary. Secondary resistance referred to the primary. So let us see how this will happen. So equivalent resistance of the transformer referred to the primary is equals to R01 is equals to R1 plus R2 dash. R1 is similar thing, R2 dash is R2 by K square. Okay, so you know that R2 has to be transferred from secondary to primary, that's why R2 by K square is being written. Similarly, X01 is equals to X1 plus X2 dash, X1 plus X2 by K square. Okay, so similarly, you know this, the equivalent impedance of the transformer referred to the primary is given by Z01, that is equals to root of R01 square plus X01 square. You know how this is being done. So if you see the diagram, how to represent this when referred to the primary, this is the diagram referred to the primary. Here you can see R1 is equal, R1 is retained and R2 dash is introduced, where R2 dash is equals to R2 by K square, and X1 is retained and X2 dash is introduced, where X2 is dash is equals to X2 by K square. Okay. Next, refer to the secondary. Similarly, what we have seen for the primary, we are going to see for the secondary. Here, what we need to do is, when you are transferring from primary to the secondary, you need to multiply it with the K square. So here also we are seeing the similar pattern. Here we are representing them as R1 dash or X1 dash because they are referred to the secondary, from they are referred to the secondary. Primary resistances and reactances are referred to the secondary, so R1 dash and X1 dash. So here also we are finding out the equivalent resistance of the transformer referred to the secondary, so R02. If you are referring to the primary, you are writing R01. If you are referring to the secondary, you are writing R02. R2 plus R2 R1 dash, R2 plus R1 dash is nothing but K square into R1. Similarly, X0 2, that is X2 plus X1 dash, X2 plus K square into X1. So, and the total impedance is Z02, that is equals to square root of R02 square plus X02 square. Now here is the diagram showing the total resistances and reactances referred to the secondary. So R2, R1 dash, X2, X1 dash. Okay. Now, what is the importance of shifting these parameters? Why are we going to shift the parameters from one side to secondary side? So let us see how this will happen. If we shift the impedances from one winding to the other, the transformer is eliminated and we can get the equivalent resistance, equivalent electrical circuit. Various voltages and currents can be readily obtained by solving this electrical circuit. So why are we doing this means, in order to get a circuit which can be, you know, easily solved, no need to think whether it is in the primary side or whether it is in the secondary side or how the total thing is happening. If you know whether it is referred to a primary or secondary, and if you know what are the values of that, it is very quite simple and you need not to worry about how the placements are being done of the windings and everything. So let us see further, refer to the primary case and how it will be changed. When the impedance Z2 in the secondary is transferred to the primary, it becomes Z2 by K square. We know this, and the secondary of the ideal transformer is an open circuit. So because of that, whatever whatever the impedances are there that are being transferred, and because of that, the secondary will be open circuit. Consequently, primary and secondary currents are zero. We can therefore remove the transformer, yielding the equivalent circuit 7.12. So here you can see, here this is the first thing in the 7.171, you can see that this is an ideal transformer. We are taking the resistances to the one side such that the transformer is ideal. And now, because of the open circuit, there will be no currents, there will be nothing that will be flowing here in this part, that is the ABCD part, right? And because of this thing, we can just eliminate this, right? We can just eliminate this, and the total circuit will be only this one. The total circuit will be only this one. That is what is being represented here. Okay. So because of this, what will happen is the primary current can be directly found by V1 by Z2 into K square. Like just by doing this, what do you say, solving this simple circuit, you can find out the primary current. Right. When you know the primary current, then you can find out the secondary current. Right. Similarly, here, Similarly, you can see I1 is equals to K into I2. This we know, right? And then from this particular secondary, this one, we can write that I1 is equals to Z2 by K square, right? K square into V2 by Z1, K square into V1 by Z2, right? K into K, okay, K into V1 is nothing but V2, again you know that. K into V2 by Z2, that is K into I2, right? So you can find out the relation between I1 and I2. You are getting the relation between I1 and I2 again. Thus, the value of the primary current is same whether we are using any of the figures. So, if you are using any of the figures, you are getting the same current, means you can write this as an equivalent circuit, right? Now, similarly for this, refer to the secondary. So, I2 is equals to K into V1 by Z2. That is the equation you get. And even if you do the same thing here also, you will get the same equation. Okay, this is primary and secondary. The next topic which we need to discuss is the approximate equivalent circuit of a loaded transformer. So what we are going to do means we are not going to take the transformer as it is every single time. Okay, we are going to make an equivalent circuit. That is, we are going to reduce the components such that we can write them in a simpler manner, and then we take that circuit every time we need to whenever we are referring for a transformer. Okay, so in order to do that, we draw the equivalent circuit of the transformer, and then that equivalent circuit will be replaced everywhere where a transformer is. Okay, so in order to do that, we are going for this particular what do you say, uh, this one diagram. Okay, first thing we are doing an assumption, not an assumption, we are just assuming this. So the no load current I naught in a transformer is only 1 to 3% of its rated primary current and may be neglected without any serious error. So the thing is, if you are having only 1 to 3% of the primary current as your no load current, then I naught can be ignored. You can ignore I naught. So we are ignoring I naught. This is an approximate representation because no load current has been neglected. So this is not an exact representation. This is an approximate representation. Here you can see the figure. Here you can see R1, X1, R2, X2, and then different parameters. Not all the circuit elements have been shown external so that the transformer is an ideal one. So whenever you are representing these values R1, X1 and R2, X2 externally, then you can say that this particular thing which is in between these values, this is an ideal transformer. You are having an ideal transformer along with R1, X1 and R2, X2. That is whatever the external resistances or impedances are there that are being shown separately such that the transformer is an ideal one. Okay. Now, we are going to do what we are going to do is we are going to take all the parameters to one side, either primary side or secondary side, and try to you know get the equations. So first thing is we are going to do the equivalent circuit of the transformer referred to the primary. So if all the secondary quantities are referred to the primary and we get the equivalent circuit of the transformer referred to the primary as shown in the figure 7.26. Here you can see the equation, sorry, here you can see the total referred to the primary is this one. Now, because of all these things, what will happen? Let us see. Note that when secondary quantities are transferred to the primary, the resistances bar reactances are divided by K square, while the voltages are divided by K and currents are multiplied by K. Right? We know all these things. We have already discussed this in detail. So we are just representing the total circuit referred to the primary. Okay. Now, the equivalent circuit shown in figure 7.26 is an electrical equivalent and can be solved for various currents and voltages. Thus, if we find V2 dash and I2 dash, then actual secondary currents can be determined as under. The actual secondary voltage is equals to V2 is equals to K into V2 dash and I2 is equals to I2 dash by K. Right. So if you find out, because this is a simple circuit right now, it is nothing but two resistances and two reactances in series along with a load. So it is a quite simple in nature. So we can just solve this. If you can just solve this, then you can solve the transformer very easily. Similarly, equivalent circuit of the transformer refer to the secondary. So you are taking all the parameters from the primary side and putting them into the secondary side. Here what we are going to do is, when you are taking the parameters from primary side and putting them into the secondary side, the reactances and resistances are multiplied by K square, whereas the voltages are multiplied by K and currents are divided by K. This will be like opposite to what we have seen in the in the above circuit, that is the equivalent circuit of the transformer referred to the primary. So this is how the total this one will be. And similarly, if you can find out the V1 and I1, then V1 dash and I1 dash, you can find out the V1 and I1 easily. The same final answers will be obtained whether we use an equivalent circuit referred to the primary or secondary. The use of a particular equivalent circuit would depend upon the conditions of the problem. So if we have a problem which is asking us to refer all the parameters to primary, then we'll take the primary equivalent circuit. Otherwise, we can take the secondary equivalent circuit. Either way, you can take either one of the equivalent circuits and you will get the same result irrespectively. Okay, next topic is approximate voltage drop in a transformer. The approximate equivalent circuit of a transformer referred to secondary is shown in the figure. This we know, right? Approximate equivalent circuit referred to the secondary. At no load, the secondary voltage is given as K into V1. When a load of having a lagging power factor of cos phi 2 is applied, the secondary carries a current I2 and voltage drop occurs in both these two parameters, right? R2 plus K square into R1 and X2 plus K square into X1. Consequently, the secondary voltage falls from K into V1 to V2. We know all these things, right? So we are just writing this in the form of an equation, and you can find out this equation. Drop in the secondary will be K V1 minus V2 is equals to I2 into Z02. The phasor diagram is shown here. See, whatever the phasor diagram we have seen, similar phasor diagram will be shown here. The only thing you have to remember is whatever the what do you say here, whatever the dotted lines are there. Okay, let us see what. It is clear from the phasor diagram that the drop in the secondary voltage AC. Let us see AC. Where is A and C? Yeah, AC is equals to I2 Z02. Okay, it can be found as follows, with O as the center and OC as the radius. O as the center and OC as the radius. Draw an arc cutting OA. So if you're writing OA and you are drawing an arc cutting. Now, then AC is equals to AM. AC is equals to AM. Yes, yes, these two will be equal because this is the this is the radius of the curve, right? Now, so this will be equal. AC will be AM. AM is equals to AN. Okay, fine. From B, draw a perpendicular to OA produced. Okay, draw CN perpendicular to OM and draw BL perpendicular parallel to OM. Okay. Approximate drop in the secondary is given by AN is equals to AD plus DN. AD plus DN is nothing but DN is equivalent to BL, right? DN is equivalent to BL. You know what is BL value, right? So AD is equals to I2 R naught 2 cos phi 2 plus I2 X naught 2 sin phi 2. So if you just add these two, if you just this is for leading PF. Okay, again if we have lagging power factor, it will be a little different. So if it is a leading power factor, this is for lagging power factor, sorry. Approximate voltage drop in the secondary voltage is equals to I2 plus R naught 2 cos phi 2 plus I2 x naught 2 sin phi 2. This is for the lagging power factor, because we have considered that we are having a lagging inductive load which is lagging behind the current is lagging behind the voltage. But if you have a leading power factor, then this will be negative. So here minus will be there. So if you want to know in a general sense, you can say that the approximate voltage drop is given by I1 R naught 1 cos phi 2 plus or minus I1 X naught 1 sin phi 2. This is in case if you are referring to the primary. So the next concept which is quite important and which we need to know is voltage regulation. So the voltage regulation of the transformer is the arithmetic difference, not phasor difference, between no voltage, no load secondary voltage and secondary voltage on load expressed as a percentage of no load voltage. So no load the secondary voltage minus full load secondary voltage by no load secondary voltage into 100. So this is the percentage voltage regulation for any for the transformer. Okay, sorry. We know that the difference between these two is nothing but I2 R02 cos phi 2 plus or minus I2 X02 sin phi 2. This is what we have seen in the old this one, right? Now it may be noted that percentage voltage regulation of a transformer will be same whether primary or secondary side is considered. So voltage regulation will be same whether if you are taking primary side or secondary side. Okay, let's stop here.